The words manned-unmanned teaming may conjure images of the 2005 blockbuster masterpiece Stealth, but MUM-T, as industry experts and militaries have begun calling it, looks set to fundamentally alter the way we understand air power in the Pacific. Defined by the United States Army Aviation Center as, quote, the synchronized employment of soldier, manned and unmanned air and ground vehicles, robotics and sensors to achieve enhanced situational understanding, greater lethality and improved survivability, end quote. Moving forward, MUM-T capable assets will surely prove an especially attractive prospect for both countries facing imminent demographic collapse, and the subsequent lack of previously abundant conscripts, or just ones looking for an edge over a peer adversary looking more and more militarily competent with every passing year. But how does one measure interoperability, and are there distinct kinds? Well, I'm glad you asked, because NATO Standardization Agreement 4586, or STANAG 4586 for short, gives us 5 levels of unmanned aerial system interoperability. Level 1. Indirect receipt of UA-related data via SD cards or USBs. Level 2. Direct receipt of ISR and other data where direct covers reception of the UA data by the UCS when it has direct communication with the UA. Level 3. Control and monitoring of the UA payload in addition to direct receipt of ISR or other data. Level 4. Control and monitoring of the UA, less launch and recovery. And Level 5. Control and monitoring of the UA, plus launch and recovery functions. If you want a real-world example, the Apache attack helicopter is currently considered one of the most advanced MUM-T platforms operating today. Able to perform from level of interoperability 2 to 4, it not only receives videos from unmanned aircraft, but it can also control the unmanned aircraft sensors and navigation profile. For example, settings, waypoints, etc. Of course, the act of piloting a fast jet or attack helicopter is hard enough already, and the risk of task saturation is a real one. In 2015, the United States Army Aeromedical Research Laboratory study found that some of the problems that pilots might face when operating in MUM-T mode include visual overload, increased workload, task saturation, distraction, decreased flying, situational awareness, and motion sickness. One must wonder if this and similar studies led to most countries focusing on developing twin-seater variants for their 5th-gen airframes. Speaking of specific countries, let's dig a little deeper into a few notable MUM-T programs currently underway in Asia. I'll just pause here for a quick caveat. Please note this video will not be an exhaustive guide of every military in Asia, and I will not be covering the US because even touching on their myriad of MUM-T projects is a video in and of itself, potentially coming at some as yet unannounced later date. First off the mark is South Korea. Any veteran to the channel will be fully aware that the South Korean arms industry has been crushing it lately. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, or SIPRI, they are currently the world's 10th largest arms exporter, just behind Israel and Spain. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, however, as South Korea is currently facing a complete demographic collapse by 2050, and currently possesses the dubious honour of the world's lowest fertility rate, probably a leading driver in the country's plans to rapidly adopt MUM-T technology. South Korea's largest aerospace company, Korean Aerospace Industries, or KAI, has been one of the most open about their MUM-T capabilities currently under development, potentially as a bid to drive up foreign interest. Indeed, a KAI executive went on the record earlier this year with a pretty clear statement of intent regarding their business strategy. Quote, "For the FA-50 and KF-21, we are not only selling the current capability of the aircraft, we are at the same time trying to sell the value of the aircraft to do something else. By giving them an idea of the MUM-T concept and a 5th-gen combat system, in other words, a system of systems. There is high value once they purchase the FA-50. With the capability, gradually, year by year, they can operate this aircraft to be perfectly prepared for the future battlefield." End quote. This future-proofing ideology probably led to the decision to invest in a twin-seater variant of the KF-21 5th-gen fighter, with the back-seater expected to gain the capability to control UAS systems in the aircraft's Block 3 variant. KAI are currently developing the Adaptable Aerial Platform, or AAP, to fulfill the unmanned half of this future capability. The AAP is described as a recoverable and cost-effective UAV that might act as a decoy, perform electronic warfare, conduct intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, or carry a small warhead for strike missions. By 2028, KAI are hoping to have a working FA-50 testbed capable of controlling up to 4 of these AAPs. According to the same executive, the end goal for KAI's MUMT program is for a single KF-21 to control 4 as yet undesigned Loyal Wingman style drones. Currently being developed by the Korean Air Aerospace Division, each should control of 4 AAPs of their own, turning each individual KF-21 into a squadron of 21 total aircraft. Unfortunately, other nations in Asia have not been half as open with their MUMT ambitions as South Korea, but a few notable developments have stood out. Let's start with the land of the rising sun, Japan. Japan has been a slow adopter of the MUMT concept, with no current plans for an indigenous Loyal Wingman style UAS, although it has signed up to the Global Combat Air Program, or GCAP, 6th Gen fighter alongside Italy and the UK, which does include plans to integrate the US-designed Loyal Wingman AI. The US Air Force-designed AI program sports the catchy name Overwhelming Response Through Collaborative Autonomy, or ORCA for short. If that name sounds familiar, it should, because the US Navy is also developing an unmanned project, the ORCA Extra Large UUV. Anyway, back to Japan. As yet, there have been no announcements as to what physical platform the ORCA AI will be utilised in. Indeed, the GCAP project itself has yet to set a tentative deadline on when the public can expect to see a demonstrator aircraft, so I wouldn't expect to hear any kind of announcement on that front until the close of the decade. The Japanese Army, or JGSDF, on the other hand, has been much more active in seeking out MUMT options, having placed orders with the Estonian-founded and UAE-owned Milrem Robotics, and Germany's Rheinmetall, to supply the JGSDF with 3 Tracked Hybrid Modular Infantry System, or THEMIS, and the Mission Master SP, or Silent Partner, UGVs respectively. These vehicles are equipped with Milrem's Intelligent Functions Kit, or MIFIC, enabling them to execute on and off-road operations independently. MIFIC allows UGV operators to plan missions using waypoint navigation and set on-route vehicle behaviours. The UGVs should be delivered in January 2025 and will be the first autonomous vehicles tested by the Japanese Army. Next we move on to everyone's favourite, military parade styling, dangerous intercept flying, domestic industry stealing, Belt and Road dealing, son of a gun, China. Also home to the Xi Jinping, what are you talking about, this has always been mine, school of building military bases on reefs in international waters and claiming it's your sovereign territory. The People's Liberation Army Air Force, or PLAF, to I'm sure absolutely no one's surprise, has been rather secretive about their domestic MUMT development, and it's a little unclear how far down the road to a South Korea-style one-pilot squadron they really are. State-owned network Chinese Central Television, or CCTV, did recently release a video they claim shows a MUMT exercise between 2 J-16s and a GJ-2 Winglong 2 UAS, operating as an integrated team. As with most closed-off dictatorships, however, it is incredibly hard to tell the difference between a genuine tech demonstration and a propaganda piece designed to show strength to all those pesky little countries who still think the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea has any enforceable validity. A quick aside on aircraft naming conventions. Much like South Korea, China has pursued a twin-seated variant of their 5th gen airframe, the J-20, most likely to cut down on the task saturation issues identified earlier. I found a couple different designations for the twin-seater J-20 online, but for the purpose of this video, I'll be referring to it as the J-20 Sierra. A small glimpse at potential progress was afforded by the unveiling of the Feihong FH-97 Alpha UAS at the Zhuhai Air Show in November 2022. According to Deng Shuai, chief designer of the drone, the FH-97 Alpha can carry both munitions and electronic warfare payloads. It can potentially conduct standoff jamming and provide fire control quality data to the controlling fighter, most likely the J-20 Sierra, via tactical data links, allowing the drone to provide terminal homing data to beyond visual range air-to-air or air-to-ground missiles. This would alleviate a significant capability gap currently faced by the PLAF, who only possess 29 AWACS of various types for their roughly 1900 combat aircraft, a ratio of 1 to 86. Contrast this to the US Air Force's ratio of 1 to 53 and the US Navy's ratio of 1 to 6. Most likely future Chinese UAS doctrine, in accordance with state-owned publications, is for loyal wingman-style UASs to replace manned frontline fighters altogether, rather than to merely augment their capabilities like South Korean and US doctrine. This future doctrine will shift manned fighters such as the J-20 Sierra from frontline combatants into more of an airborne C2 platform, much like contemporary AWACS. How much man-of-the-loop authorization will be required before these loyal wingmen engage designated targets is unknown. And if I had to guess, a far lower consideration than Western engineers who have to justify all design decisions to a wide variety of committees who have no doubt all seen the Terminator films. The FH-97 Alpha is not the only UAS capable of multi-ops with the J-20 Sierra, however, or even the first. Chinese state media announced via bad CGI back in 2022 that the J-20 Sierra is compatible with the Hongdu GJ-11 Sharp Sword, although as far as we know, these UASs are far less capable or sophisticated than the FH-97 Alpha, operating as more of a stealthy, expanded inventory than a fully functional wingman. Next up we have India, whose eyes may be bigger than their stomach, but nonetheless they deserve a spot in this video based on pure ambition alone. Indian MUM-T development has lagged a little behind other top tier militaries in Asia. Not through a lack of trying, but because of issues plaguing the Indian domestic arms industry as a whole. Issues of skill shortages, corruption, poor international business practices, a pension program soaking up 23% of the defence budget, and some pretty loose intellectual property laws have historically made domestic arms development a challenge to say the least. If you wish to know more, my fellow Australian YouTuber Perun released an hour-long masterpiece that explains way better than I ever could the myriad of deeply entrenched problems India will need to overcome before any meaningful or groundbreaking R&D projects can translate to real-world capability. All that being said, India does have a very comprehensive system of systems currently under development. In 2017, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, or HAL, commenced development of its own family of loyal wingmen, the Combat Air Teaming System, or CATS, program to function alongside the company's two-seater variant of the Tejas light combat aircraft Mark I Alpha and the Jaguar Dharan III. First showcased in 2021, the project was initially expected to have the first flying prototype ready by 2024. This has now been pushed back to 2026, with no solid dates for when the system might reach initial operational capability. CATS is an umbrella program or a system of systems consisting of two UAS variants, which I'll be covering today, and a low altitude satellite and a recoverable cruise missile I'll probably cover in a short sometime in the future. The first of these UAS variants is the CATS Warrior, a traditional loyal wingman style drone only capable of equipping up to 2 short-range air-to-air missiles with no EW capability that I could find. Brief quotes from HAL executives hint that India is following a doctrine closer to that of its habitually line-stepping neighbour, China, opting for a twin-engine design so the Warrior can more effectively match the performance of older 3rd and 4th gen aircraft. The second is the CATS Alpha S, or Air-Launched Flexible Asset Swarm. The Alpha S is exactly as it says on the tin, an air-launched swarm system designed to launch from a CATS Alpha glide pod, designed to be carried by the controlling mothership. The glide pod will drop from the aircraft and can then glide 50 to 100 kilometers in enemy territory before opening and releasing its 4-drone payload. The swarm can zero in on multiple targets independently and is designed to be equipped with either air-to-air or air-to-ground warheads. The different CATS systems are designed to be controlled via a UHF data link, limiting range to line of sight but increasing the rate of data flow. That is not the only problem with this setup, however. The aircraft designated to control the system, the Tejas LCA, doesn't currently come equipped with a tactical data link, requiring all testing to be conducted with the Hawk 1 training aircraft. I couldn't find anything giving a firm date on when a variant equipped with a data link will enter production, or if current models are set to receive a refit, but if anyone knows, please feel free to put in the comment section below. The CATS program is ambitious, and the numerous delays and reliance on currently non-existent capabilities aren't exactly promising. But if HAL can deliver on even half the program's claimed capability, it will certainly drag the rapidly aging equipment of the Indian Air Force into the 21st century. Last but certainly not least is the glorious land of Lemingtons and drop bears. My home, Australia. The Australian Defence Force and the Royal Australian Air Force, or RAF in particular, will be investing heavily in unmanned systems over the next decade, with MUM-T in particular being a strong focal point. According to the 2024 Integrated Investment Program, the government will be investing 4.3 to 5.3 billion Australian dollars over the next decade, the majority of this to be spent on the MQ-28 Alpha Ghostbat Loyal Wingman. The Ghostbat will be the first military combat aircraft designed, engineered and manufactured in Australia in over 50 years. It is being developed jointly by the ADF and Boeing Defence Australia. Currently, there are no plans in place to weaponise the platform, however I would not be surprised if this were a fitted for but not with situation. 3 Block 2 variants of the UAS have been ordered by the RAF and will be delivered at some as yet unknown point in the future. In the meantime, Boeing have hired 350 additional workers and tapped 200 local suppliers to meet future production demands. The RAF has also acquired another MUMT capable duo, the P-8 Alpha Poseidon and Northrop Grumman's MQ-4 Charlie Triton. The first MQ-4 Charlie is scheduled to be delivered sometime in the first half of this year. Eventually, the RAF will operate 4 of these UAS platforms, which only reached initial operational capability with the United States Navy in August of last year. The Triton is listed as an uncrewed, high-altitude, long-endurance aircraft and will work alongside the RAF's 14 P-8s in MUMT formations to provide persistent ISR, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, of Australia's northern coast. The Triton project began in 2008 when Northrop Grumman won the bid for the US Navy's broad area maritime surveillance capability and was finalised in 2014 when the Australian government agreed to a cooperative program with the United States Navy with an initial order of 7 aircraft, soon reduced to 3 and then increased again to 4 in 2023. The program will cost the Australian government over 2 billion Australian dollars before the final aircraft is delivered. Manned-Unmanned teaming developments will no doubt begin to dominate military R&D budgets more and more in the coming decade if they don't already, making these early insights by companies such as KI and Boeing Australia especially valuable. It gives those of us with a keen interest in the defence industry a brief glimpse of the future of high-end warfare. But as of today, as I record this video, that's all it is. It is important to remember that the full potential of these unmanned platforms and their manned counterparts are decades away from IOC. The MUMT concept itself still has a lot of teething issues to work through. For example, how uplink-downlink communication between the manned and unmanned component of a team will work in a modern, heavily electronically degraded operating environment filled with counter-UAS systems and data link jammers will work is still a hotly debated topic, and will surely become a rapidly developing unseen battlefield in any future conflict. The ability to intercept or disrupt this data link will be a crucial factor in the feasibility of these systems, and a measuring stick by which nations can judge their electronic warfare capabilities. The concept is currently being introduced gradually and mostly through non-combatant ISR roles such as the P-8 and MQ-4 Charlie pairing, but more kinetic evolutions like South Korea's AAP will, I'm sure, begin to appear in proxy conflicts breaking out throughout the end of the decade and into the 2030s. Allowing those of us in the open source intelligence and military analyst community to re-evaluate the feasibility of loyal wingman platforms in almost real time, alongside the world's major military superpowers. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the longer content. It definitely took me by surprise how long this took to put together, but in the end I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. If you'd like to read the script, including all my research notes, they will be uploaded on my Patreon, so if you're feeling generous, you get access to all that for as little as $1 a month. Feel free to leave a like and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you all have a lovely day.